Hello and welcome to the Naked Expat channel. In a couple of previous videos, some of my regular subscribers have commented about my stance regarding the basic state pension and preferring the DWP, the Department for Work and Pensions, paying your pension directly into your bank account overseas, and whether or not that was actually the best option. Now, I'm the first one to sort of put my hands up and say, okay, well, you've got me thinking about this. And because of previous restrictions, I always favoured to keep things simple and pay directly from the DWP into your bank account in, say, the Philippines, for example. Now, this isn't about whether or not your pension is going to be index linked or not, because most viewers will know that the state pension, if you say are registered in Thailand, will be frozen from the date you take your pension, and it will only increase if you return to the UK or you move address to a qualifying country like the Philippines, for example, where your UK state pension would benefit from the increases on an annual basis, if there are increases. And the topic of this video is pretty much, well, when the payments are going from the DWP, where is it best for them to go? Which is the most efficient? Now, previously, because of lock-ins and the very difficult ability to move funds from different countries, I always preferred and advised my clients previously to, for the sake of simplicity, have the pension paid directly from the DWP. There are no fees involved and you get wholesale exchange rates. That is true. The DWP use Citi Bank as their preferred payment provider. And Citi Bank, one of the comments, which I haven't been able to confirm online or not, but let's assume that it's correct, Citi Bank levy a £1 charge for transferring funds from the DWP somewhere else in the world. And they use the SWIFT system. Now, the SWIFT system can, depending on the amount of banks that are involved down the food chain, can incur slightly more charges than something like Wise, Wise isn't a bank, but it operates in a very similar way to a bank. It's a currency transfer platform. Now, I've reached out to a couple of friends of mine that are based in Malaysia and Thailand and in the Philippines that are currently in receipt of the basic state pension, on how they go about doing it and what they found out to be best. And in the main, most of them have said that they will, in most instances, not always, but in most instances, get a slightly better rate if their basic state pension is paid into a UK bank account and then they use Wise to transfer it abroad. But basically confirmed my thoughts with regards to additional flexibility, which may be of benefit. Now, I'll put my hands up and say, okay, well, I think my thinking on this has actually changed and my previous stance is outdated. So we're all in this together. The whole ethos of my Naked Expat channel is to have a community where we can bounce ideas off each other and get people thinking, because ultimately it's not about finding paradise, it's not about finding women. The most important things are your health and your wealth, and they work in tandem with each other. State pensions and other pensions are important. When I say other pensions, certainly occupational pension schemes, final salary schemes and money purchase schemes, personal pensions, the pension trustees may or may not also be able to pay your pension abroad. Now, generally, the case has always been, for a lot of people abroad, is they will get their payments paid abroad into Europe, Spain, Portugal, wherever they may be. Again, the Wise and other Revolut and World Remit, for example, Wise is probably the most popular one. These transfer payment solutions make it more flexible for all of your UK pensions, be them state pension or personal pensions, occupational schemes, to be paid into a UK bank account, and then with Wise, you're in control of what happens with that money. Certainly as expats become more transient, and then I've said in other videos, you may not be just based in Thailand or Malaysia or the Philippines. You may be a digital nomad, for example, probably more unlikely in your older age because you just want a bit of peace and quiet and slow down. But you may well be 3 or 4 months in the UK or America or Europe. You may be 4 or 5 months in Thailand, 3 or 4 or 5 months in the Philippines or Malaysia, for example. You may be a bit more transient, and exchange rates do actually make a great deal of difference when it comes to if you're on a very tight budget. Now, without further ado, let's just have a look at why perhaps Wise is a better option for most people. Do bear in mind that in countries like Thailand, for example, although you can have a Wise app and you can send money from the UK to Thailand, or Philippines, what have you, there is actually what's known as a physical Wise card, which you can use like a debit card, and you can spend money, you can use it in ATMs. They won't allow you to have a Wise card if you're registered in Thailand, for example. They will if you're in the Philippines and in most countries in Europe and UK territories like the Isle of Man, Jersey, etc. And also, you won't be able to have a Wise card in most circumstances for business purposes. It's only for personal purposes. But we'll talk about the card in a moment. Let's just have a look at the main benefits of the Wise app when it comes to, say, the state pension. But the same thing applies to personal pensions and occupational schemes. Now, let's just say that you've got your pension there. Now, rather than it being paid by the DWP, via Citi Bank to your overseas account, say in the Philippines. Now, I've not been able to confirm whether there's a £1 charge, but basically it uses the SWIFT system, which is interbank. So there are potential charges. So it is likely that your state pension with the Department of Work and Pensions, your basic state pension, comes to the Philippines directly into your Philippine bank account in pesos. It's simple, it's straightforward, it's easy. And most people that use Wise, that are in receipt of their state pension, say, well, what they get with Wise is as near as damn it the same as what they get with Citibank and the DWP. So there's not a huge amount of difference on the day of transfer. But it's very, very interesting that Wise gives you options to be in more control, because what will happen with your pension, and again, not only the state pension, but all of your pensions, rather than it being paid abroad, either with DWP or with your pension trustees, the pension trustees for all of your pensions, DWP is for the Social Security, for the basic state pension in the UK. For private pensions and occupational schemes, you have pension trustees. Now, they're the same sort of people. They're the managers of your pension funds. And again, they can send your money in most circumstances anywhere in the world. But in order to do that, they're going to use a bank. And what you get as far as money is concerned, dollars or sterling, you don't really know. Because these trustees have got to use the bank, and banks are not in it for free. They're not a charity, so they're going to charge money. So there's fees involved. But what you can do, again, for all of your pensions, is you can go into something like Wise. Well, why would you use Wise rather than just having the peace of mind and having it all go direct into peso, into the Philippines? Or if you're happy with your pension being, your basic state pension being frozen, directly into your Thai bank account in Thai baht. Why use Wise? Now, Wise was based in the UK, although you can have accounts if you live pretty much anywhere. Now, why would you use Wise? Well, when your pension comes into Wise, you have the option then is what do you do with it? Because within the Wise system, you know I love mind maps. If you've been watching some of my other videos, in the Wise system, you've got you. So let's say this is you. This is your ABC account. That's you. Okay, and within that, you've got US dollars, you've got euros, and you've got, say, sterling. And say let's say you go between Thailand and the Philippines. So you've also got Thai baht, and you've got PHP, you've got Philippine peso, okay? Now, when all of your pension providers, including the DWP, they pay into Wise. And if you're not able to pay into the Wise account directly, you can get the DWP to pay into your UK bank account, UK bank that you still hold. And then you pay that money yourself, manually, into your Wise account. And you fund your Wise account there, okay? Now, you can then have ultimate control of what you do with that money. So let's say you're getting a pension, but basic state pension is say £230 a week. Now you can choose your basic state pension and your personal pension when you have payments paid into your UK bank account, and then you can decide what to do with it. Now, let's say, for example, the sterling rate you get paid in is for the Thai baht is a bit low at the moment, and you think now's not the right time actually to convert my money into Thai baht. And maybe the same if sterling's weak, probably may not be so competitive with Philippine peso. So you say, okay, let's just keep it. Let's make that payment into sterling. And you build up your sterling account within Wise. Because within your main Wise account, you've got sub-accounts holding different currencies. And then when it's appropriate, you might think, oh, the exchange rate has changed. So then you can convert some of your sterling into Philippine peso. Or you convert some of your sterling into Thai baht. And you can hold it in peso, Thai baht, US dollars, euros, and lots of other different currencies at that time. Or you can say, okay, well, now's the right time to send it abroad because I need that money. And you can send pesos to the Philippines, Thai baht to Thailand, etc., if you've got accounts locally. Or you can just say, okay, I've got a Wise card, which is different again. It's almost like a debit card. There you are. And you can use your Wise card like a debit card, and you can spend it. And if you're in Thailand, you can spend it like Thai baht, and it will deduct money from what you hold in your Thai baht. Or you can choose to say, okay, well, Thai baht against peso is quite good at the moment. You can spend it in Thailand, but deduct it against any one of your other accounts. You can choose within the apps. So Wise gives you an incredible amount of flexibility because you can be in control of your pension funds into Wise and then choose, do I want to convert it now, or shall I just sit on it in sterling and convert it later? One advantage or stroke disadvantage of Wise is that it's not a bank. That brings with it more advantages than disadvantages. One of the disadvantages is you're not protected by the ombudsman when it comes to bank defaults, like you would be with a general bank account, current account, savings accounts in the UK, because it's not a registered bank. It doesn't fall under the banking regime in the UK. However, that also has distinct advantages. The way that Wise works is Wise has a local bank account in all of these various countries that it operates in. So when you're sending money, it bounces your money through its local account in the Philippines or in Thailand, etc., before it's paid out to you. That's very advantageous. If you have something like a Wise card, you can use it within the ATM, and it's treated like a local ATM in most instances. However, what you should be aware of is, let's say, for example, you set up a Wise account in the UK, and then you became an expat in Thailand, for example, and you've got a Wise card, and you can top it up using a UK bank account, and you can spend the money just like a debit card. You can take withdrawals out of the ATM. Bearing in mind with Wise, for example, you're only allowed 2 free withdrawals every month. And say, for example, in the Philippines, it's 12,000 pesos maximum per withdrawal. So in a month, you can take out 12,000 peso and 12,000 peso. You can take out more, but if, for example, in the Philippines, you were to take out 12,000 pesos, let's say it's this month, so we're now in August. Wow, time flies, yeah? We're in August, and you take out 12,000 peso on the 1st of August. Then let's say on the 7th of August, you take out another 12,000. Well, that's okay, because within the month, you're allowed to take out 2 free withdrawals, so there's 0 cost there, and there's 0 cost there. No problem at all, fantastic, that's okay. But what happens if, say, maybe on the 15th, you take out another 6,000 peso? Well, this is where Wise make their money, more so, because that 6,000 is more than the 2 free withdrawals, so you get charged, it's not a huge amount, you get charged 30 pesos every time you take out money, which is roughly 50 pence. But also you get charged 1%. Now, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to realise that, okay, well, as long as you don't take out anything more than 24,000 in any one calendar month in the Philippines, you don't get charged any fees. Any more withdrawals, you get charged 30 pesos every time you use the ATM, and you get charged 1%. Likewise, if this, instead of 12,000, if this figure was 15,000, well, you've got 12,000's free, 12,000's free, but you've taken out another 3,000. So you'll get hit with a 30 peso withdrawal fee, and sorry, beg your pardon, no you won't. You'll still get your free withdrawal because you've only made the two, but you'll be hit with 1% on the extra 3K that you've taken out, because you've taken out 3,000 over and above that, and subsequently all other withdrawals are subject to 1%. And the extra withdrawal fee from the ATM, 30 peso. The wonders of the edit, I've just wiped my board again. So if Wise is so flexible and you've got this handy card that you can use in all other countries, what's the problem? Well, there are, insofar as if you, in my previous example, you set up a UK Wise account and you got issued with a Wise card to spend anywhere in the world, and then you go and live in Thailand. Well, that's great. You don't need, most people will maintain a UK address, won't inform anybody, sort of live under the radar, happy days. The problem comes if one of the UK institutions closes your bank account, then what are you going to do? Because if you don't have any UK address to re-register another account or prove that you're in the UK, you might lose your UK banking facilities. And in doing so, if you're living in Thailand, Wise will not issue you with a Wise card if you're resident in Thailand. They will if you're registered in the Philippines or one of the other sort of crown dependencies, or in Europe, etc. There's a list on the Wise website of the countries that are acceptable and countries that aren't. And Thailand's not on it, for example. They're probably working on that, but at the moment they can't. Wise cards are only issued to residents of certain countries. Even if you're British, you're an expat in Philippines, for example, no problem. You're British expat in Thailand, no, you can't have a card. So that's a bit of an anomaly, because if you do lose your UK banking and you set up, say, for example, a Isle of Man bank account, which is great because a lot of the Isle of Man bank accounts, like with Standard Bank, I've mentioned to a couple of my subscribers that have asked, I've got UK bank accounts with Standard Bank in the Isle of Man. And okay, the banking protection isn't as great as it is in the UK, but I'm not holding loads of amounts of money on cash. Nobody generally does, because you get very poor return anyway. But it's a great banking system, and of course my address is registered in the Philippines, not a problem. But it would be a problem if I want to use Wise and you're registered, say, with Standard Bank, because you've lost your UK banking, so you register with Standard Bank in the Isle of Man and you write your address down as in Thailand. Because that wouldn't be acceptable for Wise, because Wise would say, okay, we're living in Thailand, we can't have a Wise card. You can use the Wise system, no problem at all, but you can't have a Wise card, which may or may not be a problem. One of the advantages of also having a local bank account, it makes a lot of sense because you get an immense amount of extra flexibility. We've already seen in my previous example that you only allow 2 free withdrawals with Wise every month, up to a limit. It's £200 sterling. So in my example, they do for the Philippines specifically state 12,000 peso each time, or the equivalent of £200 times 2. So £400 in any one calendar month. After that, you get charged. So it's kind of easy, isn't it, really, that you've got your Wise account, you pay money, say, into your Philippine peso account there, and you just hold it there. Now, you might hold it in your Wise account in sterling initially, and wait until the rate is good. Oh, it's 71 peso to the pound. That's fantastic. I'll do some now, and you'll transfer some money from sterling and do the deal into peso and hold it there. So if you had £1,000, when you wanted to convert it, you got 71,000 peso, and it's good because last week the rate was only 69. which is great. That's one of the other benefits with your pension, your basic state pension. It can come into Wise in sterling and not be converted. If the exchange rate is rubbish and you've got savings elsewhere, you might want to play the exchange rate system and think, okay, well, if it was paid direct with Department of Work and Pensions, it'll get paid at, say, 65, which might be a poor rate for you. As an example, I remember a few years ago when I had to transfer some money over to the Philippines and the best I could get was 61, 62. It was really quite poor. Now, of course, sterling's improved quite a lot. Now, if you've got savings and cash elsewhere, you might want to be spending that and holding your pension money in sterling and just hanging on and hanging on and hanging on for things to get better. And if the exchange rate does get better, goes up to 71, boom. Rather than transferring and getting 61,000, 62,000, 65,000, you're transferring and getting 71,000, which is fantastic. Or you might just want to take it on the chin and say, okay, well, I'll spend money in peso with my card, and I haven't got much money in there, so it'll just be deducted from sterling on an ad hoc basis when you spend it. Well, that's absolutely fine if you want to do that. The main thing is you've got options. And what can you do with this 71,000? Well, it's held within your PHP, yeah? It's probably better to, there's your PHP account under Wise, and it's got a bit pregnant because you've put some money in it. What are you going to do with that? Well, if you've got your card, you can spend it locally. But what about if you've got a bank account in the Philippines? Well, great, because let's say you've got BDO. Other banks are available in the Philippines. You can send that 71,000 there, free of charge, boom, straight into BDO. Now, BDO, if you've got a local ATM and debit card, you can take out as much as you want when you want, which is fantastic. My limit with BDO, I think, is 200,000 peso a day. And okay, you can only take out 20,000 at a time, so you've got to stand there for a long time taking out money and watching over your back to see if anybody's looking at you. But free ATM withdrawals, whereas with Wise, you're limited only to 2 free ATM withdrawals a month. £200, £200, or 12,000 peso, 12,000 peso. After that, they're going to hit you with 1% charges. With here, you're not going to be hit with anything. So you're in fantastic control. Same as if you're in Thailand with a local, like Siam Commercial Bank. You're going to send money in Thai baht. Rather than going to the Philippines, you're going to go over here to Thai baht, and then you're going to send it to Siam Commercial, or Casacorn, or whomever, other banks are available. And then use their ATM machine free with free local withdrawals, which is fantastic. The other benefit of Wise over, say, the DWP and other pension providers is that Wise generally don't have as many bank holidays, which means most Wise transfers from your account abroad, if you wanted to, rather than going into peso or Thai baht, you might come into sterling and say, okay, we'll leave it in sterling for the time being, and then certainly you get an immediate exchange rate, and you don't want it to go into your Thai or Philippine account. You've got a multi-currency account with Wise, which you can hold lots of different currencies, a bit like one of my famous mind maps, yeah? Lots of different currencies you can hold in a multi-currency account. But you might just think, okay, let's just get it into Wise and we'll wait for the right time. Okay, great, it's 71. I don't want to go into my peso account. I don't want to go into Thai baht or US dollars or anything. I just want to send it to the Philippines. When it comes as a sterling, you do a deal, it gets transferred into Philippine peso, and boom, straight into your account. Should have gone there, really, shouldn't I? would have made a lot more sense. And it goes straight into your account, which is fantastic. And normally with Wise, it used to take up to 4 or 5 days for larger amounts. The vast majority of time, I think they say on their website that 60% of their transfers are done immediately, literally within seconds, and that is the case. And it is the case, in all fairness, with Revolut and with World Remit. It's nigh on instantaneous. It can take, for the remainder, up to 24 hours. And that has happened. Now, I had a large transfer with what used to be called TransferWise, and then they've shortened it to Wise, a bit like the Facebook became Facebook. I had to make a large purchase in the Philippines, and it was a couple of £100,000 that I'd sent over via TransferWise, now Wise. And that took about 2 weeks because it basically triggered AML, anti-money laundering, and they wanted to establish a paper trail where the money had come from. Was it mine? Was it legitimate money? I wasn't trying to money launder or anything. So it got held up in the system. And I didn't have a problem with that at all with my finance background. I knew exactly what they were hunting for, what they wanted to confirm. And after about, I think it was 12 or 13 days, my money had arrived in my BDO account. So it was held up a little bit, but that's mostly unusual. The vast majority of payments are immediate, and other ones, if they're held up, they're paid within 24 hours, which is almost as immediate and less likely to be delayed. Actually, in all fairness, again, you know, I've learned on this, then DWP using Citi Bank, because a lot of banks going through the SWIFT system, one or the other banks that they use within the chain might well have a public holiday or a bank holiday, and so it gets stuck in the system. So it is less likely for your payments to be delayed using Wise. So again, I've learned something. The other thing, I'm going to wipe my board, and one final thing I'll talk about, which is another benefit of using the Wise system. There you go, I've wiped my board. I'm very, very grateful for a couple of the comments previously on some of my other videos from subscribers that got me to reevaluate my stance with regards to direct payments on DWP, because I didn't want to be criticised. As one person mentioned about, if I didn't talk about this, I'd be doing my subscribers a disservice. And I'm like, you know what? Yeah, I mean, everybody can change their opinion, and everybody can learn a little bit more. That's the whole reason. It's the whole ethos behind Strip Back to Basics, the Naked Expat channel. It's all I'm trying to achieve. Get you guys to think for yourself. And if I can learn something along the way, you know, we're in this journey together, because as I always say, although we're all unique, we've got similar traits and we can all benefit from this. One thing that I learned when I've had a Wise account, and if you look on my website, I had an affiliate link to Wise for years. I've had a Wise account for 10 years or whatever, however long it's been running. I had Wise account, TransferWise, before World Remit and Revolut, who I also use. So I'm a great exponent of Wise. When I took out Wise, you weren't able to remove funds from the Philippines. It was basically one-way traffic. So you could transfer money in for support and for your retirement, etc. And the Philippines was very welcoming, like any country. Yeah, come on in, you know, bring in your money and spend it. You know, they always love it going into the country, but there were massive restrictions on getting money out of the country. Now that I've recently learned that those restrictions have been lifted somewhat, which is fantastic news if you're in the Philippines, for example, because you can send money using the Wise, now that they have it, the local Wise account in the Philippines, to transfer money out of the Philippines. So let's say you're in the Philippines. Now why would you want to do that? Well, let's say you've got a sick relative or a sick friend, or you've got money that you've saved up in the Philippines, or you've been lucky enough to sell a house or a condo, and you got money back in your Wise account or your bank account. Now, if you've got your money in a bank account with somebody like BDO, you're going to find it really hard to get money out of the country, because they make you jump through so many hoops. But you can start transferring money into your Wise Philippine account. Now, how do you go about doing that? Well, the Philippines, Wise in the Philippines, has an account. So what you will do from, say, BDO or whomever, other banks are available, you'll transfer money just like sending any money with online banking, with BDO or Philippine Bank, any Commerce Bank, Land Bank, whomever. You can do online banking, and you look down through there and you'll see Wise Filipinas. And that's the Wise Filipinas account, and you put it in there, and you reference your UK account, and you send money there. So now let's say you send whatever. There's two systems. I'll just check my notes. If you want to send money from the Philippines to your UK account, Wise, you have two ways of doing it. For less than or equal to 50,000 peso, you use InstaPay. And for more than 50,000 pesos, Larger amounts, you use PesoNet. They're both quite secure payment providers, and that's what you do. So if you want to send money from the Philippines out to the UK, you do it via your local Philippine bank account, and you send up to 50,000 via InstaPay to UK Wise. More than 50,000 peso, you use PesoNet, and you send it to your account in the UK. And there's lots of personal reasons why you may want to do that. For example, you might have cash in the Philippines, and you might be moving to Thailand. Well, what are you going to do? You carry all the money with you? You might be closing your bank account down in the Philippines. Well, what are you going to do? I'd like to go in and close my account, please. Well, you can close your account and I'll give you the cash. Well, then what are you going to do? You can literally pay that cash into Wise in the Philippines instead before you close your account, pay it in there and send it to UK Wise. Why would you want to do that? Because when you get to Thailand, what are you going to do? My little mind maps before, you're going to send money from UK Wise in Thai baht. And you're either going to top up your Wise card and spend your Wise card, or you're going to be sending it to your new account in Thailand. Great way of doing it and avoiding the banks. As we know, your circumstances can change. So with this immense amount of flexibility, not only is it wise to have, excuse the pun, not only is it prudent to have a Wise account for multi-currency transactions, and sending them to, again, prudent to have a local bank account so that you can get those free extra unlimited ATM withdrawals, etc. A lot more flexibility. But also, if you then move a country, you move from Thailand to the Philippines, or you move from the Philippines to Malaysia, or wherever you go, you can have a way and a secure means of transferring assets out of the country in limbo until you settle yourself elsewhere and set up another local account and send money through there. So again, that's a very, very valuable tip. And it's something that I've learned because I wasn't aware. I knew that when I took out my Wise account, you weren't able to do this. You could bring money, you could receipt money into the Philippines. You weren't able to take money out of the Philippines. Now you can. So that's a fantastic tip. And I've learned something as well. So I'm very, very grateful for a couple of comments on this channel that have got me to do a bit of a deeper dive into this, and it's fantastic because I've learned something which I wanted to share with you guys because it's very, very valuable. Right, I think I've covered everything for the time being. Do guys make sure that you're very, very careful if you maintain a UK address and you are actually an expat, because there are certain ways in which that can come around and bite you on the ass. The main one that I'm concerned about, and I'm not preaching here. I know you guys do it for a specific reason, especially you guys that are in places like Thailand, where when you leave the UK, your basic state pension is frozen at that point. And when you're in Thailand, you're not entitled to any uplift. And a lot of you people will just keep your mouth shut, live under the radar, you maintain a UK address. If you get found out, HMRC or DWP can basically claim back and put massive fines on you, and you can risk having a criminal record as well. It's entirely your choice because they will come after you. Maybe not immediately, because there's a lot more high net worth clients that they're chasing for tax evasion. There's two differences. There's tax mitigation, which is legitimate, that you can do to move your assets abroad and make them more tax efficient. That's tax mitigation. And then you have tax avoidance, which basically means that you're avoiding tax and you're bullshitting. Now, if you're living in Thailand and you are getting the pension uplift because you're maintaining a UK address, and yet you're non-ordinarily resident, and you can't, they know, guys, AI now can be trained, these large language models can be trained now to look through everything, just like they can and spot, these AI now can spot cancers at a more accurate rate than even the more professional neuroscientists can. And they're very, very accurate. It will be very, very easy for HMRC and DWP to train AI to say, okay, look at bank accounts in the UK. Look to see what their activity's like, and they'll give it parameters, which is normal activity, like buying in Aldi's, buying in Marks and Spencer's, buying gasoline, petrol, petrol station. Look for normal activity and look for a lack of activity or unusual activity. Flag up anything that's with World Remit or Wise or Revolut. Flag up any payments to those UK companies, because they know darn well if you're using your bank account to pay money to Wise, how often are those payments being made? once a month, once every 2 months on an ad hoc basis. They know that you're abroad. Now, they're not going to check with somebody like Interpol, but it's relatively easy for them to ascertain whether or not you're in the country. And the onus is on you. You are very much guilty until proven innocent. With HMRC, the onus will be on you to prove that you are in the UK. And you won't be able to, because the more you bullshit, the bigger the hole that you're digging yourself. And you will have to pay back all of the uplifts plus fines and the criminal record. And they will come after you eventually, because AI will make it easy for them to trace all of these accounts. Now, again, I'm not preaching, I'm just making you aware of the potential pitfalls. If you were in Thailand and then say you moved to the Philippines, you then, from the time that you reside in the Philippines, are automatically entitled to the uplifts again. But for the time that you're outside of the UK and you're in Thailand, no, you're not. But then you can start getting the uplifts again when you're in somewhere like back in the UK, or you're in a qualifying country like most of the EU, Philippines, Crown territories, etc. So it's worth bearing in mind, guys. And it does affect you with Wise as well, because you're not able to have a Wise card. You can have a Wise account, like I said. You're not able to have a Wise card if you're ordinarily resident in Thailand. You can use the one that you've already got, but if it ever needs replacing, they will not replace it. And if you've got used to using it in Thailand, you're going to be going, oh, you're tearing your hair out because you're not able to use it anymore. You've lost that advantage. There would be an argument, okay, well, come and reside in the Philippines until you get like an ACR card and you can prove residency in the Philippines. Then you can apply for Wise again and get your card sent to the Philippines and then move back to Thailand. Only a suggestion, not advice. I hope you found this interesting. I've certainly learned a lot more about Wise. I was an advocate of Wise, but I didn't appreciate just how much more flexible Wise makes pension payments with the DWP as well. So I'm certainly going to revise my previous statement and go on record now to say the balance of probability is that when you get your social security pension, basic state pension with the UK, or personal pensions or occupational schemes, money purchase or final salary schemes, the default option should be getting it paid into your UK bank account, stroke using Wise to make transfers abroad. The default should not be using DWP to send your basic state pension abroad. That's the default, unless you have specific circumstances, which means you are unable to open up a Wise UK account or have a UK bank account in the UK for your particular reasons. I hope you found this of interest. I've certainly learned a lot, and I don't mind. I know I'm big enough and ugly enough to revise my previous stance regarding using DWP to pay direct to an overseas account. That has now changed now that I'm more familiar with the increased flexibility, certainly with being able to transfer money out of the Philippines now with a company like Wise, which you weren't able to do when I took out Wise initially. So I've updated my guidance on that, which is fantastic. I'm really grateful for you guys that have pointed that out and made me do a bit more research. It's wonderful. We can all learn from this. And that's a wonderful thing about me starting my YouTube channel, is that I want it as a active community where we can question advice that's been given, whether or not it's the right thing, and what your circumstances might be. Because as always, we are all unique, but we do have very, very similar traits. Please like and subscribe if you don't already do so, because it does help my channel. I'll put a link in the description for Wise so you can read my article on my website, but also there's an affiliate link there if you are interested in Wise. It doesn't cost you anything more. I may get a little bit of a kickback from it, I may not. It depends on your circumstances. The main thing is I do think that certainly if you have got a UK address at the moment and you haven't got Wise, you want to get a banker in there and you want to get your Wise account set up and a Wise card issued. I think it's £7 for the Wise card currently to actually get the physical card, as well as being able on the app to set up digital cards. Do it now whilst you've got a UK address and get the banker in there. Whether you're using it immediately or not, the main thing is you got it in your back pocket, ready to rock and roll. So it's pre-expat planning almost. So get it now whilst you can. Thank you.